Chinese factories advance annual leave by 3 months amid economic downturn. Selling birth certificates. Surprisingly, the hospital director in Hubei becomes an accomplice in human trafficking. Netizens are furious. Rate of fetal visceral malposition in China increases fourfold. Guangdong's mandatory high-cost insurance for rural banquets. Call for reform. Sudden divergent voices emerge within the CCP. It's all covered in today's China Truths. Chinese factories advance annual leave by 3 months amid economic downturn. China's economy is in a continuing downturn, resulting in a wave of business closures, and many factories that remain operational are grappling with survival. With just over 3 months remaining until the Chinese New Year, factories in various regions have already begun to implement early annual leave. In more detail, on November 1st, a knitwear company issued a notice, citing a severe backlog of inventory, and decided to grant early leave to all of its employees. Workers in the spinning workshop started their leave on November 3rd, while those in the circular knitting workshop began their leave after completing the remaining work. The tentative date for resuming work after the New Year is set for February 27, 2024, the 18th day of the lunar calendar, with specific details about the resumption to be provided later. In Hunan, a privately owned enterprise called Xianya Steel Factory also announced a comprehensive production halt for maintenance starting on November 1st. They are gradually granting leave to their employees and will adjust the schedule based on the situation, with prompt notifications for employees to return to work. The temporary leave period extends until February 17th of the following year. There are also notices indicating that a factory in Dongguan, Guangdong, initially planned to grant leave to all employees until the end of August this year. However, due to the factory's persistent lack of orders, the management decided to continue granting leave from September 1st until the end of February 2024, during which they will continue to provide social security benefits for employees and offer basic living expenses, among other benefits. This situation illustrates that despite operational challenges, some businesses are operating at a loss in order to stay afloat. According to online reports, a substantial number of businesses have faced financial difficulties and subsequently closed down one after another. With many factories shutting down in large numbers and business owners fleeing, numerous employees are left without financial compensation, and even long overdue wages remain unpaid. China's economy is in a state of continued decline, with many industries experiencing a significant decrease in orders and facing severe inventory issues. Based on data released by the General Administration of Customs of the Chinese Communist Party on November 7, China's exports saw a sharp decline in October, falling by 6.4% compared to the previous year, which was below market expectations. This marks the 6th consecutive month of declining Chinese exports. The decline in exports means that China will have to depend on its domestic market to stimulate its economy for the remainder of this year and into 2024. However, this presents a significant challenge for the Chinese Communist Party. Many Chinese individuals have invested their personal wealth in real estate, and the downturn in the real estate industry has resulted in a substantial reduction in personal wealth. Consequently, this has had a negative impact on consumption, forcing families that have been grappling with the effects of the pandemic for years to continue controlling their spending. Recent business surveys indicate a decrease in factory orders, and activities in the construction and service sectors are showing signs of continued slowing. These factors suggest that the Chinese economy is deeply entrenched in a crisis. Selling birth certificates. Surprisingly, the hospital director in Hubei becomes an accomplice in human trafficking. Netizens are furious. On November 6, the topic of hospital director profiting 60,000 yuan from selling birth certificates trended on Weibo. According to a report by Chinese media outlet Urban Report, after more than a month of undercover investigation, their reporter managed to contact an intermediary involved in the sale of birth certificates. The intermediary claimed that for a payment of 96,000 yuan, they could provide a genuine and traceable medical birth certificate for a child, and the payment could be made after the child was registered as a resident. With the guidance of the intermediary, the reporter, without even presenting the actual baby, provided only the baby's name and relevant information to Shenyang Jianqiao Hospital in Hubei Province. Under the direct involvement of the hospital's director, Mr. Yi, They successfully obtained a genuine medical birth certificate for a virtual baby. Even the fake medical records and the baby's vaccination records were successfully recorded at the hospital. The intermediary involved in selling the birth certificates claimed that out of the 96,000 renminbi, 66,000 renminbi would go to the hospital director as a commission, while the rest would be divided among the hospital's staff in the maternity ward. The report states, "We are committing a grave crime." Hospital Director Yi was well aware of the seriousness of selling medical birth certificates, but she still chose to take the risk. The hospital director, named Yi, was directly involved in producing fake birth certificates and related records. This issue was reported by well-known anti-human trafficking volunteer Sheng Wanjingyi, who revealed that such activities had occurred in various regions, leading to successful residence registrations. The hospital in question, Xianyang Jianqiao Hospital, was formerly known as Xianyang 102 Hospital, underwent privatization in 2011, and offers various medical departments. The Hubei Xianyang Health Commission has initiated an investigation into this matter, while outraged netizens called for strict punishment for those involved. Netizens expressed their anger, saying, "I believe this behavior is even more despicable than human trafficking. You make the children sold by human traffickers appear legal and reasonable, while you earn money with a guilty conscience. I strongly recommend a thorough investigation and that individuals like this receive the appropriate punishment." Rate of fetal visceral malposition in China increases fourfold. Recently, researchers from 2 hospitals in Shanghai and Changsha published a report indicating a fourfold increase in the incidence of fetal visceral inversion, speculating a connection between COVID-19 infection and this congenital condition. According to Tencent News, researchers from Shanghai Jiaotong University and Tongji University published a communication article in the New England Journal of Medicine on November 2, reporting a sharp rise in cases of fetal visceral inversion in 2 Chinese hospitals from January to July 2023. A total of 52 cases of complete visceral inversion and 4 cases of partial visceral inversion were observed, which is approximately 4 times higher than historical levels for the same period. Researchers used data from the China Welfare Institute International Peace Maternity and Child Health Hospital in Shanghai and the Hunan Provincial Maternity and Child Health Hospital in Changsha to evaluate the incidence of fetal visceral inversion from January 2014 to July 2023. They found a significant increase in cases during the first 7 months of this year. Although there is no conclusive evidence, researchers speculate a potential association between COVID-19 infection and fetal visceral inversion, which requires further study. This condition involves the reversal of internal organs during fetal development and can be either complete or partial. Hospitals in China noticed a rise in such cases after the relaxation of the zero-COVID policy. Fetal visceral inversion is associated with anomalies in the distribution of morphogenetic factors and ciliary dysfunction during early organ development and pregnancy. Several netizens shared their own experiences with similar conditions or deformities in fetuses, raising questions about whether the vaccine might be responsible for these cases. In general, visceral inversion is a rare congenital condition where internal organs are reversed, typically occurring in about 1 in a million people and associated with autosomal recessive genes. Guangdong's mandatory high-cost insurance for rural banquets. On November 2, a netizen with an IP address indicating Guangdong posted that they and some friends were preparing to celebrate their father's 80th birthday at the end of the year. However, they received a notice from the village requiring advance registration for the banquet and mandatory insurance purchase. The insurance costs 500 yuan for every 15 tables, 1,000 yuan for 30 tables, and so on. Moreover, this high-cost insurance only covers a single banquet event. The netizen criticized that during the 3-year zero-COVID period, all banquets were suspended, and after eagerly waiting for a return to normalcy, they now face these regulations. The post included screenshots of the village's notice and insurance fee standards. According to state media reports, in recent years, various regions, including Zhejiang, Jiangxi, Sichuan, and Guangdong provinces, have introduced different versions of rural family banquet food safety insurance, rural collective banquet insurance, or rural chef banquet insurance. Despite different names, They all use the pretext of food safety to require rural households organizing banquets or chefs responsible for cooking to purchase insurance, claiming to provide compensation for food poisoning. In many of these regions, insurance is mandatory. For example, in Jiaxing, Zhejiang, the announced premium rate is 10 yuan per table, with the urban government claiming to cover 50% of the cost. Call for reform. Sudden divergent voices emerge within the CCP. The Caixin Weekly published an editorial titled Urgent Need for Reform, addressing concerns about excessive government intervention and the shift away from market-driven resource allocation in China. The article mentions that despite comprehensive reforms and opening up a decade ago, there is a growing disconnect between public expectations and the actual outcomes. The editorial reflects varying perspectives within Chinese society and possibly within the Communist Party. Professor Ming Xia, a professor of political science at the City University of New York, believes that the editor-in-chief of Caixin Media, Hu Shuli, has close ties to China's former vice president Wang Qishan. The concerns raised in the editorial also represent factions within the Communist Party, reflecting internal divisions over President Xi Jinping's personal rule. Xia suggests that there are many within the party who do not agree with Xi Jinping's current approach. Xia points out that the party's approach has shifted from a more balanced model towards personal autocracy under Xi's rule, overturning many established practices of the past 40 years of reform and opening up. Caixin Weekly's editorial mentioned that apart from the reform of state-owned enterprises' mixed ownership, the State Council of China has also issued other policy documents related to fair competition, property rights protection, and the promotion of the development and growth of the private economy. The streamlining administration, delegating powers, and optimizing government services reform implemented in the past decade has also shown significant results, simplifying government processes and improving online services. However, during this period of reform, particularly during the 3 years of the pandemic, some officials micro-intervened too much, leading to one-size-fits-all and layers of additional restrictions, causing difficulties for market entities. Caixin Weekly's editorial concludes by recalling Xi Jinping's statement during the 18th Central Committee's third plenum, saying, "In addition to deepening reform and opening up, there is no other way to better leverage the advantages of the socialist system with Chinese characteristics, promote sustained and healthy economic and social development." This correct assertion is felt more strongly today. The editorial anticipates that China's current decision-makers can follow the spirit of the 18th Central Committee's third plenum and make new arrangements to achieve a new starting point for reform and opening up. Don't forget to leave a comment in the section below to share your opinions on today's topic with us. Make sure to like and subscribe to see more interesting topics from China Truths.